Welcome to part 2. Again, this is in response to the price of promiscuity. Woman shares her experiences. So now we're going to talk about what men can do about the global sexual marketplace. Again, a question that came up was, how is it that guys are supposed to go out, get laid, spin plates, all that stuff, but women are supposed to be told to wait for relationship potential and not just give themselves away sexually? Well, again, and I think I may have mentioned this in the previous videos, our sexual strategies are intended to be complementary. They're not intended to be the same. Men can't carry babies. Women do carry babies. Just that fact alone has led to the evolutionary differences between men and women, and that's also led to where our primal sexual strategies lie and what our primal sexual strategies are developed based off of that. And you have to understand biological pleasure principle here is that it feels good to do what we're biologically designed to do, generally speaking. The desire and drive towards something like having sex, for example, feels good, and that's what drives us towards that. So we're not driving towards having babies as an idea. We're driving towards what feels good, which is sex, which then leads to babies. So that's how the biological aspects of this stuff work. So if a woman is following what her biological mating drive drives her to do or tells her to do, then she's going to feel better and be happier than if she's trying to do something else. So the female strategy is to select the best possible mates for procreation for sex, whereas the guy's strategy is to just simply spread seed. Now, put those two somewhat different drives and strategies together, and what you end up having is a complement. You have those two strategies end up complementing each other, because guys are after sex and women are then selecting. So then guys make themselves better so that they have more sexual opportunities, right? And then women are selecting the best that they can do, which means that they have to show up a certain way, which causes them to better themselves to be more attractive to the higher value guys. And it just drives the species forward, but it also drives us to do things to make us happy and more fulfilled in our lives. So the complementary aspect of our sexual strategies can be a help to us rather than a hindrance. But the problem is if you have an ideology like feminism that lies to women and tells them that they're going to be happy executing a male sexual strategy and explore your sexuality and all that kind of stuff, what ends up happening is it ends up hindering that long-term happiness. So to answer that question, how come there's two different strategies? How does that work? Well, it works because they're complementary. When you put them together, they enhance each other. But when one person screws their end of it up, so to speak, and does something different, then they stop complementing each other. And right now, what's happening that's different, generally speaking, is women are being more like guys in terms of their sexual strategy and their promiscuity. And women will defend that all the time. Well, men have been doing this for decades. Women are just doing what men have been doing. Yeah, exactly. And that is why it's screwing up society and screwing women up. And that's why long-term relationships, by and large, don't work anymore. Okay, so yeah, you're right. They are doing what men have been trying to do, but women kept what men wanted to do in check by being more sexually selective. You remove that, from a pickup standpoint, for me wanting frequent access to sex with as many women as I want, for a guy like me, that's great. I can go out anytime I want and get laid right now. That's great, right? More or less for short term. But where it's not so great is if we're talking about, let's have a long-term relationship. Let's pair bond. Let's go a little bit deeper than hookups. that's where it ain't so great. It ain't so great for women, and it ain't so great for men either, who want to do something different other than just bang a bunch of girls. Okay. That being said, here's the male strategy. We're going to get into it here. And the male advice or strategy is going to be different than the advice that I've given the females in the last video. Okay. It's not going to be the same. Once again, men and women are different. So what I'm going to tell men to do is going to be a little bit different than what I'm telling women to do. But again, you put them together and they complement each other. So first thing for guys, yes, spin plates. Okay, what does that mean? That means date and approach multiple women. But here's the part that gets left out all the time when that advice is disseminated is don't just spin plates. You want to next very quickly. You only have a finite amount of time and effort you can put into anything within a 24-hour period or within a 7-day week. If you're wasting that time and effort on low-quality women, women that aren't good potential matches for anything long-term, what's happening is you might be getting laid, but that's time and energy that's not going into other non-sexual things that you should be accomplishing, number one. And number two, it's time and energy that isn't available for higher quality, higher SMV women to come into your life. So that is, if there's anything for guys that I could dispense advice on, if you forget everything else I say, just remember that. Spin plates, learn to vet out these women, and next very quickly. You guys will waste time on low quality women that are not good matches for you because they'll have sex with you or they'll touch your pee-pee, all right? I get when you're coming from a place of sexual scarcity, like from the blue-pilled mindset, so to speak. Maybe you just got out of a relationship, you got trashed, got zeroed out in a marriage. You want to get back out there. You want to start learning about women and dating and seeing and banging women. I get that. So coming from that place, there's a bit of sexual scarcity there, but you don't want to stay there. You want to get to a point of sexual abundance. When I say sexual abundance, that means your sexual market value is high enough where you have a lot of options with women. It's not really hard to get there because men are pretty weak nowadays. All you have to do is show up and be alpha. You're going to have a bunch of abundance with women. Work on your physique, work on your sexual market value, work on your purpose in life outside of women, work on your communication with women, meaning game, okay, skills, and your subcommunication and being attractive and not showing up and being unattractive. It's not actually that hard to work on those things. Even if you have a lot of genetic disadvantages, okay, you can work on all those things and you'll still have an abundance of women that would be good choices for you. But the other part of it is, even if you're just seeking casual relationships, okay, let's say you're not in a place in life to get into anything serious and you just want to have a good time with women in casual relationships. Well, seek out the ones who would be good potential long-term partners anyway. Why do I say that? If you're dating, let's say 3 women that are good potential long-term partners, you're going to have a better time with those women, and they're going to bring a lot less drama and a lot less toxicity in your life when you're trying to pursue your purpose. So you're not ready for a relationship. That's fine. Cool. Like I don't recommend guys seek relationships out. That's the girl's job. But you want to have good experiences with women. You're going to have better experiences with women who are just good people. Okay, versus bringing toxic women in your life because, okay, the sex is good or because this is exciting. Usually what that means if you're bringing toxic women into your life is that you have some sort of trauma that you need to overcome or some sort of problem with your attraction triggers. If you keep bringing in borderline personality disorder women and you think that they're so sexy, that's a problem with you. You are attracted to toxic women, and that's something you might want to work on. We should work on. You can work on that in a consultation session with me because that is something that's going to hinder you long-term with anything in life, your goals, whatever. You get these guys that swear off women because women, can take away so much time and energy from your purpose. Well, healthy women don't do that. Healthy women complement your ability to accomplish what you want, and they don't get in the way when you're not with them. Okay, so vetting women out for just being good human beings to be around is much better than having just mediocre or toxic or low SMV women around. So that's my advice, is spin plates and next very quickly and bring in quality women into your life and get rid of the ones that are not really worth your time or energy. And there's going to be a lot more of that. So I'm going to give you a little rule here. I call it the 70-30-10 rule. That's out of 100 women, 70 are not going to be capable of pair bonding or capable of let's say pair bonding, we'll say capable of a long-term relationship for whatever reason. So out of 100 women, it's a good educated guess that 70 can't do it for anything long-term. That leaves you with 30 women that can be in a healthy long-term relationship, but out of those 30, probably 20 of those women aren't going to be a good match for you. Maybe just your personalities don't match, or you're just not that attracted to her, or maybe she's just not that attracted to you. And that's okay. They're good people. They're good human beings, but they're just not for you for anything long-term, which leaves you 10 women that we can estimate that would be good potential partners long-term. So that's 70-30-10. So out of 100 women, you got about 10 that could be good potential long-term partners. Well, that means you got to go through 90 women who aren't going to be good for you, 70 of which who aren't going to be good for anybody. So do you see how these numbers work? When guys get really nihilistic and they think, well, there aren't any good women out there. Yeah, because you're not nexting fast enough and your vetting capabilities are not developed enough. So you're letting the 70 incapable women into your life and not focusing on the 30 that are capable to find the 10 that would be a good match for you, right? So that's the biggest piece of advice right there. Now, as far as banging, well, here's where the second part of this is. The reason why we focus on banging is because we know that if without genuine burning desire from a woman, without her seeing you as the best that she could ever mate with, the relationship will never work out. So if a woman doesn't see you as the best she's ever had and ever could have, you don't give away your commitment. This idea is very off-putting to women a lot of times. Women don't like this idea because they want you to be naive. It's part of their sexual strategy. And whenever we violate someone's primal sexual strategy, you get oftentimes a really adverse reaction to that from that person. And so a woman wants the security of being able to secure a mate long-term eventually. There's a real threat for a woman, however, that the best she's ever had was somebody that she had when, let's say, she was in her early 20s. And now that she's in her 30s, she can't secure the best she's ever had. She can't get that quality of a guy again. Her sexual market value is not high enough for her to secure that man again or to find that man again. Now, for women, I have different advice on that, which is basically don't settle, don't give up. But women want the ability to settle because they want to know that they could settle with a lesser man, have kids with that man, and try to find happiness and then deceive that man into thinking that he is, the best she could be with. Well, and then she's deceiving herself too at the same time. Remember, there's a deceptive nature to female sexual strategy. No, this is not a slam on women. There's an aggressive and violent nature to male sexual strategy. All right, so males got what we wanted. Men got what we wanted through aggression and violence. Okay, that doesn't make us better than women. That just makes us different and maybe in some ways worse. But here's the difference though. Society in Western modern society has controls in place, so we can't just execute intimidation and violence whenever we want to get whatever we want. So we have controls in place on the male evolved strategy, which is aggression and violence. There are no controls in place, really, or very little at least, for the female strategy, which is deceptiveness and manipulation. Okay. So because of that, the only controls you have as a man is to be smart, learn about women, and figure this stuff out, because society is not going to cause women to be less manipulative or deceptive for you. She may decide to do that because of her character and because of how she cares about you, but there is no external force that's going to tell her to not be manipulative or deceptive. In fact, it's the opposite. So that being said, we end up using sex as the benchmark for genuine desire. Well, if she bangs us, then we know she at least desired us enough to have sex with us. If she doesn't bang us, then we can assume that the genuine desire isn't there. Well, that usually is true in the global sexual marketplace. That's generally the truth. But understand there's a lot of times that might not be true. I've counseled, or in consultation sessions, I've had women, young women, a couple of them, in fact, who were trying to protect themselves from being sexually promiscuous. And one of the trouble that they had when they would meet up with guys, if guys were like, well, if you're not banging me within 3 dates, then you must not like me. And they were caught up in that paradigm. And these women are struggling to try to explain to these guys, like, listen, I'm not banging anybody. Okay. I'm holding off for a pair bonded experience. And that's maybe not happening in 1 or 2 dates. So that is a problem that we have with the global sexual marketplace. And you need to understand that problem. It's rare you're going to run into that woman who is trying to protect her sexuality and not, and in that way. So I understand that will she bang you is pretty much a good benchmark for desire, but you have to understand what's behind it. It's not just getting laid, okay? You're seeking genuine desire from a woman. If it was just getting laid, you could actually swear off women, get a doll, watch porn, get the sexual release, buy hookers. Like, you would need this information if it was only about getting sexual release or getting laid. But it's not really about that, is it? What men actually want is genuine burning desire from a woman. And this is why hookers, dolls, swearing off women, getting deep into pornography doesn't actually work too well. And it ends up being more damaging to a man rather than being healthy and helpful to a man. Okay. So why, and again, why is that? We have an internal drive for genuine desire from a woman, not just to get a sexual release. And so we want to seek out that genuine desire for whatever that looks like. We want to create and have good experiences with women. So my second piece of advice here is just to seek genuine desire and have good experiences with women and open up the opportunity for sex to happen. It's a little bit different than chasing getting laid. So I'll use my own personal example. When I was more or less chasing getting laid, I was getting laid a lot, sure. But I put a lot of effort into it, and a lot of the women I was getting laid with were hot, but really kind of low quality. And oftentimes brought toxicity into my life too, because I was just after the sex rather than after the good experience. Now, when I kind of flipped that strategy, because I had so much sexual abundance that getting laid was never even a problem or a thought, I was just focused more on quality of the experience. And I didn't care so much about getting laid or not. And there were several women that I ended up having sex with later that I'd gone on it like more than 3 dates with, more than 3 hangouts with. And I wasn't worried about it because I had a good time with them. Point is, I had a better time seeking better quality of experiences and not worrying about getting laid. And I got laid just as much. Women wanted to have sex with me, probably more so. And in terms of frequency, because I don't think you could have gotten beyond the frequency I was at, it was just as much. I didn't lose my sexual frequency, but the difference was I was having better quality of experiences and I was having better quality of women around because I was just seeking good experiences. I wasn't caught up in trying to get her in bed. I was more or less enjoying her and enjoying the experience. And so that's going to be better for you. But that takes an abundance mindset with women. And that's a place that you need to get to. So third thing is be curious and consider your experiences with women a learning experience, even bad ones. If someday you hope to meet somebody who is good long-term relationship material and that's what you want, that's something you feel like you're ready for, good. But then you're going to have a lot of skill sets developed as a man in order to manage that relationship, in order to get that relationship, first of all, and to get her to want to be in that with you. And then second of all, in order to manage it. So this means that you got to learn about women. You only learn about women by experiencing women. You can get on my channel and binge watch my stuff. You'll learn a whole lot, and that stuff's going to be here in your head, which is good. But you need to be able to apply the information. That only happens through having experiences with women, both sexual and non-sexual. So go out and have fun and consider it a learning experience. Don't take things so personally when women do stuff. If you're good with women, a woman can't hurt you. Really, she can't hurt you. She can't zero you out. She can't do all the things that's happened to some of you guys if you know how to prevent her from doing that, set proper boundaries, so on and so forth. So just go out and have fun and learn about them. Because if you're not learning and bettering your skills, you're not going to be skilled when you find somebody that is a good match for a long-term partner. So I'll give you a bit of a formula here. That's vet, reduce, next, or accept. Okay, so when you're seeing women, you're relaxed, you're having fun, and it's a learning experience. Part of that learning experience is vetting her. Figuring out, well, is she somebody I want to be with for longer than this date? Or is she somebody I want to be with for the next 10 minutes when you approach? Is she somebody I want to be with for multiple dates? And so on and so forth. You're getting to know her character, you're vetting her, and remember, you're nexting very quickly. Now, when women show the potential, but then you see some red flags and you're not sure about them, and you should be dating multiple women, right? Do what's called reduce, which means if somebody is sort of not showing up the way that you want, you just reduce your attention, time, and activity with them. What's going to happen is they're going to start showing up better or differently, or they're not. And if they're not, then you next them. Okay, that's the next step, is nexting them. You just let them drop off and you focus on other women who are showing up better. But she may kind of turn it around because she wants to be with you after you sort of reduce your time and energy into her. She may want to show up more and show up better. And so that's her making herself better in present time to be in your frame and to have what she sees you have to offer. That's a good thing. And so after reducing, then maybe you accept, and that means accepting more time with her, and possibly, if it grows into it, accepting something more long-term or more committed. So there's a little formula for you guys. Don't invite crazies in your life. All right, this goes back to what I said with when you're nexting women. Don't just have women around because you want to bang them. You should have an abundance with women where you have other options to bang better women who aren't insane. Crazy women, okay, whether they're personality disorders or mental disorders or just plain low value, low sense of morals, low sense of personal values, toxic women. Having those women in your life in any capacity is never good, not even for sex. I mean, bang them, cool, whatever, but what good is that for you? Because they're taking up time, energy that you could have opened up for better, higher quality women. Right? And so don't leave these toxic crazies. Don't open up the door for crazies in your life is really the better thing. Your life is going to be drama-free and much better, much easier. And the sex is better too, I promise. Some of you guys think BPD sex is the greatest thing on earth because you haven't experienced severe, genuine desire, some of you, from healthy women, okay? You can make a healthy woman crazy in the bedroom for you when she really desires you. That's way better than having a person who's just crazy. Because a person who's just crazy, yeah, she'll be crazy in the bedroom for you because she's crazy. And guess what? She was crazy in the bedroom for her other 50 guys that she slept with. And she was crazy all the time for those guys and around those guys too. Crazy is just her personality, okay? Much better and much more accomplished, actually, to find a healthy person. A healthy woman who is not crazy, who's fun to be around, and then she is crazy in the bedroom for you. That's a much bigger and better accomplishment. Takes a lot more talent, and it's a lot more fun with a lot less negative outcome. So get rid of the crazies, okay? Again, back to learning experience. Be curious and outcome independent and non-judgmental. All right. We can judge behavior here and when we talk about these issues at an intellectual level, but when you're in front of a woman, you're not there to judge her. You're there just to understand and learn about her. That doesn't mean that you have to accept anybody. Okay. So that's really important. Being non-judgmental just means that you have compassion for this person and you're going to, listen to them and learn about them. Okay. And that's good, right? But you don't have to accept her in a long-term relationship. If she has a bunch of bad, we'll say a bunch of experiences in her past and a bunch of personality traits that are not good, that you don't really like, you don't have to accept it. All right. That being said, though, I'm going to warn you against having cold, hard, fast rules. People are individuals. They're not a set of data points and a set of rules. Okay. So some of you guys who are like, well, I won't accept a girl in a long-term relationship if she slept with more than 5 people, or if she slept with more than 10 people, I won't accept her. Hey, you do you. And if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to tell you not to. But I am going to say that that's ineffective. Why is it ineffective? Well, you could have a girl, let's say, who slept with 20 dudes, who is emotionally mature, mentally mature, learned about herself, not just on the other dudes, but the aftermath afterwards, and is a good long-term potential mate, and who would see you as better than those 20 guys anyways, so it wouldn't even matter. You could have that girl, and she's honest with you about her notch count. But then you next her, because you're talking to some girl who says she's only slept with 7 people, and your limit was 10. And so you think you found this great girl because you were just looking at binary data. Well, she turns out to be toxic and turns out to be not a good partner because you didn't vet for those other things. You see where the mistake is? Not only that, how do you know when she says the number 7 that she isn't lying to you? Most women are going to lie about their past. Now, if you're alpha, you're not judgmental, and she is genuinely concerned about keeping you around in a relationship, she'll actually tell you the truth. But for most of you, not every girl, but a lot of them will. But for most of these girls, though, they're not going to tell you the truth. So what good does it do you? What good does it do you to have a hard, fast rule based on past experiences where they're not going to tell you the truth anyway? So you're just going to pick a girl who's lying to you, most likely, and who might have a bunch of other toxic traits, and you're going to ignore the girl who's telling you the truth and who's worked through maybe a bunch of toxic problems. So you have to understand that people are human beings, women are human beings, and you have to look at the totality of the circumstance. Don't just look at binary data points and set up rules for yourself. Again, you don't have to accept anybody. I'm not saying, because there's going to be guys in the comments, don't be a Captain Save-A-Ho. I can say, don't be that guy. You don't try to save some woman from herself, from her past, from her whatever. Don't be that guy. However, if a girl's a good match for you, she's a good match for you, right? And you just have to look at all the data points and work through them. Red flags are red flags for a reason, but it's not about, well, she has this red flag, so she's nexted off the list necessarily. She might have a red flag, and what that means is you observe that stuff, you observe the behavior, and see if that red flag is something that is overcome or can be overcome, or if it's something that you know is non-negotiable. You just can't overcome it. And if you can't overcome it, of course, don't be in a relationship with her. Don't give your commitment away. But if you can overcome some of these things, it might be very rewarding for you. Some of the most rewarding relationships I've worked with guys on were guys that were able to overcome red flags, even things like notch counts, and were able to go on and have happy and productive relationships with these people. And they're still doing that to this day. And they're one of the 10% that is being successful. So that's just a little piece of advice. You figure it out, you do you, but I would advise against having cold, hard rules with this stuff. Okay. So the other part about this is piece of advice, be alpha. And that also means you have no need to cheat or lie. All right. Don't cheat on your relationships. Don't give away your commitment and then lie to a girl and bang someone else. It's weak. It's not congruent. If you want to sleep with multiple women, tell a girl that you don't want to be committed. It's that simple. Most of these women, if they desire you enough, will accept you for the truth. Okay. So you don't need to disclose all of the information. Full disclosure about every aspect of your life is not your responsibility, particularly if you're not committed to somebody. So if some girl you're dating wants to know how many other women you're dating, this, that, and the other, you don't owe her that explanation. But you don't need to lie to her either. Well, I'm not dating anyone. And meanwhile, you have 2 other girls you're having sex with. That's not very alpha, and that's not productive. And it doesn't build the foundation for a good long-term thing later. So if that girl turns out to be a good long-term prospect, you've now lied to her a bunch, and that's becomes the foundation of that relationship. That's not really good. That's going to cause you problems later. And there's just no need for it. It really isn't. So last thing again, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, is focus on who she is now. I understand past is important, but the reality is she's not going to be truthful about all that stuff. Not because she's a liar, a cheater, women are terrible. Okay, I understand there is a deceptive and manipulative nature to a female sexual strategy, but you have to understand too that that's a primal drive and that she's not necessarily doing it on purpose. She genuinely will brain dump and forget things about certain parts of her past. She genuinely will not want to look at some of her past behavior. She genuinely will get anxiety or get uncomfortable if certain topics come up, and she won't necessarily lie to you, but she will omit details, or she will glaze over certain things, give you partial answers. She's just not going to give you the full story, the full truth most of the time. So those of you guys who think that you're just going to interrogate a girl on her past and that's going to give you all of the information that you need to pursue a future with her, you're very mistaken and you don't understand women. It's just not how it works. I hate to say, because women are just not going to be truthful about this stuff anyway. What you're gathering information based on things that is said and done, and it's going to be in small bits and pieces. And you're going to infer and understand things about her, how she is, and her makeup based on those bits and pieces. That's kind of how it goes. But you're just sitting back, enjoying yourself with her and observing. When she feels comfortable and she's enjoying herself with you, her guard will be down and she will let you know who she is. If you're not behaving that way, and if you're putting her in a position where she feels interrogated, or if you're playing 20 questions with her past, she will not feel comfortable and you will never get the whole story, okay? You won't get the whole story anyway, but you won't even get parts of the right story. And some women just outright lie about it. They'll just outright lie. And I got a couple future videos on that one, some articles and stuff that we'll read together. But point is that you have to focus on who she is now. How is she showing up today for you? You use those data points from her past to understand how she is today. And that's what's really important. She may have done some things that you don't like in her past, right? She may have cheated, let's say she cheated in a relationship. But understand why that happened, how that happened. What is she different now than she was back then? What's going on? Not just does she say she's different, but is her behavior different? How is she different with you? How is she different with herself today than her past? Because people are not who they are in their past. You've made mistakes too. Okay, guys listening here, you're not the same person you were 5 years ago. I hope not. All right. So we all make mistakes. We all evolve from those mistakes. Now, some of us evolve for the better and some of us evolve for the worse. But what's important is how you show up today is what matters the most, not necessarily what added up to that. So when you get these data points, it's good to look at them. It's good to understand them, add them to your vetting process. But again, don't fall into all or nothing thinking, which is a logical fallacy. Just observe and see how she is with you today and use that as your benchmark for making decisions as to whether or not you want a woman to stay in your life. So hopefully this information helps you guys. Hopefully it's actionable. If you liked it, or have questions, get in the comments below. I'll answer what I can. Thanks again for the support.